Guys, it has come to my attention that there are still people who are not yet aware that there are cars in this game that are actually really good off-road. Shocking, I know. Rockstar coded these cars to have a reduced or no off-road traction loss, and they're commonly referred to as rally cars. Now, what do I mean by rally cars? It doesn't have to be a typical race car you'd see in real life, right? Really, it just means anything with an off-road traction loss value of less than 1. If it has an off-road traction loss value of 1, it has full off-road traction loss. If it has an off-road traction loss of 0, 0.3, 0.7, 0.8, that is a reduced traction loss. And today, we're gonna go over all those cars, starting from worst to best that are in the sports class, so stick around. And one more time just to clear up any confusion. An off-road traction loss value of 1 means full traction loss, and an off-road traction loss value of 0 is the best possible case scenario for a car. That means it handles exactly the same off-road as it does on-road. And I'll be putting off-road traction loss values for all cars mentioned at the top left of the screen. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So, starting from worst to best, we have the ZR380. And obviously, this thing's main concern isn't handling. It's an arena vehicle. It's got armor, you can put weapons on it. But my problem with this car lies especially in its handling. This thing is tail happy, and when I say tail happy, I mean it. This thing's got a very high torque engine. That doesn't help it out very much. It's rear wheel drive, and the thing feels like it's just tail heavy. Even driving on normal roads, it feels like the car's suspension can't take it. It feels like you're constantly bottoming out. The suspension just doesn't have enough travel or something. All in all, it's a good looking car. It's not supposed to be used for handling and racing, but it's at the bottom of this list because there's something fundamentally wrong with the suspension and for its barely reduced traction loss of 0.7. So, up next we have the Strider, and this thing is heavy. Make no mistake, it's exactly what it looks like. It's a station wagon with an extreme off-road package, and I actually quite like it for that reason. I like the styling. It's a luxury, kind of German-looking station wagon with massive front and rear solid axles, so I like it in that regard, but that's about it. It's heavy. You're not going to be winning much races in this thing. This is very much a cruiser, right? Even despite its all-wheel drive and a traction loss of only 0.6, it's slow, it's not going to accelerate that fast. Its top speed isn't much to write home about, but I will say that it's consistent because of its all-wheel drive. You're not going to have any surprises, no oversteer, no understeer, really. It's a nice, consistent handling, weirdo, kind of off-road SUV station wagon thing, but you're not going to be winning any races. So next up, we have the Tropos Rally. And honestly, this is the first car in this list I can say was a pleasurable driving experience. First of all, if anyone knows anything about real-life rallying, you know what this thing is based off of, so it's a legend in that regard already. Second of all, despite it being only rear-wheel drive, it handles flawlessly. It doesn't seem to oversteer, understeer, it's very planted as it turns, and despite being a rear-engine car, it doesn't really want to snap oversteer that much either. The car looks beautiful, it handles beautiful, it's really fast for something that came out in 2016. And taking this thing off-road, even in the rain you could see in the recording, it doesn't seem to care. It just handles it. Absolutely amazing car. Despite it being so old, I would still recommend buying this today if you just like sports cars. And with the traction loss of 0.4, it handles off-roading fairly well. So moving on, we have the Obey Omnis, a legend be assured, and every Audi fanboy already knows what this thing is and is cheering on right now. But this, in-game, is one of the smoothest handling cars anyone will ever touch. All-wheel drive, no weird handling flags or characteristics, doesn't oversteer, understeer, it looks nice, it sounds nice. I can't say a single bad thing about this car. Maybe it's a bit slower than what we're used to today, but that's really it. And honestly, the handling more than makes up for it. Buy this car if you like old cars, buy this car if you like sports cars, buy this car if you like rally cars. Enough said. Alright, so continuing the trend of Group B rally cars in this game, we have the Vapid GB200, and this is a car that truly handles like a mid-engine car is supposed to. You really do gotta know what you're doing when you're driving this thing or it will kill you. This is a car that is honestly inherently unstable and wants to kill you, but if you can pull it off, if you can learn how to drive it, it will be very rewarding to you. As far as handling itself goes, I can see the suspension is very reactive. It almost overreacts in a way to certain things. It's very grippy, it's very twitchy, I guess you can say. Snap oversteer is plentiful and you have to watch out for it. You have to be very sensitive and very delicate with the handling inputs over bumps and stuff because it will throw you around, will spin you around and kill you. But while this car is unstable, I kind of like that in a way because it demands more from the driver. And again, it's just another legend car. Everyone who's a rally autist knows about this thing. And really, 0.375 isn't a bad off-road traction loss value. Alright, so up next we got the Flash GT, and before I even get to the review, you already know I gotta go to LS Customs to put this livery on, right? Rest in peace Ken Block, superhuman race car driver. But anyway, as far as handling goes, this thing is pretty consistent. It's all-wheel drive, it's definitely a heavier car than the GB200, so while it is twitchy and a bit snappy, it's more manageable, just because there's more weight. Its suspension seems to be fairly soft and can take most things despite not being very long travel, and an off-road traction loss value of 0.35 is not bad at all. So we end the mid-tier of rally cars with the ISI Sport, and really there isn't much to say about it. It's quite unremarkable. It feels like a more refined version of the Flash GT, but one thing I can say though, it's really interesting actually, that this is a front-biased all-wheel drive car. I believe it's like 65, 30 something. So while that does make it more stable in the corners, it honestly kind of makes it a bit boring to drive because it's just so consistent. Now obviously, consistency is good, but I like interesting driving experiences as well. There's no oddball handling characteristics I can figure out or notice, and the off-road traction loss of 0.35 is always good, nothing bad there at all. So now we get into this class I like to call super rally cars. Starting off with the Comet Safari, which is a Porsche that's been converted into a truly purpose-built off-road machine. It's rear engine, all-wheel drive, and this thing is rapid. It accelerates fast, it handles nice, it's not even prone to any snap oversteer. The suspension is long travel enough that it can compete with some of the trophy trucks and the Jeeps in this game. Basically, it is what it looks like. It is a sports car, a Porsche, that's as fast on-road as it is off-road, really. And with a traction loss of only 0.3, it can absolutely compete with some of the best of the off-road class cars. Alright, and here we have it, the first car on this list with an off-road traction loss value of absolutely 0. The Kuruma is a car loved by almost every GTA Online player for some reason. It's loved by PvP players for the bullet resistance, it's loved by car enthusiasts because it's a Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution in real life, and it's loved by everyone else because it's a nice bit of nostalgia from 2015. And if you didn't like it for any of those reasons, here's another reason. It handles absolutely flawlessly off-road. About the only negative thing I can say about this car is that its suspension is fairly stiff, so it's reactive to bumps, and that's about it. But otherwise, it handles very consistently because of its all-wheel drive. There's no weird handling flags or characteristics I can figure out or realize. It accelerates fine. As far as top speed goes, it's okay for the type of car it is. It's not the greatest, but it's not going to matter. This car's purpose is pure driving experience, and you're going to realize it when you pick one up. We're coming down to the wire here, and next up we have the Sultan Classic, and oh my god, where do I even start with this car? This car and the next car are at the top of this list for a reason, okay? The two Sultans are by far the most refined rally quote-unquote style cars in the entire game. All I can really say is it's all-wheel drive, it handles perfectly, on-road and off-road. No understeer, no oversteer. The suspension, despite sitting so low, somehow absorbs things better than some trucks in this fucking game somehow. It looks amazing, it sounds amazing, and the car is obviously a nice nostalgic callback to the 90s and early 2000s. Just take a look at this engine bay. That's how you know it was a special car. Rockstar really cared about the way the engine bay looked. And again, with an off-road traction loss of 0, you can't go wrong. This car, the ISI Sport, and the Sultan RS Classic, which is the next one, are probably the 3 best rally cars in the entire game. So here we have the last normal car in this list, and you'll see what I mean by that in a second, but this is the Sultan RS Classic, and essentially it is a little brother to the Sultan Classic. Sultan Classic is a 4-door sedan, this is a 2-door coupe, and these cars are so similar, it really just boils down to what body style you like better, honestly. Now there is one key difference, is that the Sultan RS Classic, which is this car, has a rear-biased all-wheel drive system. It leads for slightly less understeer at times, but the Sultan Classic never really understeered that much anyway. Again, they're just so similar in performance, and everything I said for that car applies to this car as well. It looks nice, sounds nice, the same exact beautiful engine bay, so you can really get whatever you want. Now, me myself personally, I like 4-door sedans, but I also like rear-biased all-wheel drive. So who knows, maybe in the future Rockstar will introduce drivetrain swapping in GTA 6, and I can take the all-wheel drive from the coupe and put it onto the sedan. One can hope. Alright, so at this point in the video, most people can click off now, because quite frankly, there's no reason why these next 3 vehicles should have good off-road handling at all. I guess Rockstar was on that mid-pack when they were making these things, because next up, we've got the BF Raptor. Yes, this 3-wheeled, kind of barely a car, kind of a bike thing, has an off-road traction loss value of absolutely 0. But, I mean, as you can see, the thing has 3 wheels, and you can see in the gameplay just how awkward that is, right? Now, call me crazy, and I'm not sure if I'm hallucinating, or if I'm on that that mid-pack too. But this vehicle feels almost faster off-road than it does on-road. It really is a strange feeling. You should drive it for yourself. But anyway, as far as handling goes, 3 wheels, awkward. One thing I can say it's a positive is that despite having such small suspension components, it handles bumps really strangely well. It really is just a strange vehicle. Everything about it is strange, but I wouldn't say it's an objectively bad vehicle. It's just really weird. And here we are at the end. Only 2 more vehicles left, and both of them are go-karts, starting with this one, the Vito Modern. And what can I say? It's a go-kart. Very fun to drive. It loses no traction off-road, surprisingly. And for a vehicle with absolutely no suspension, it handles bumps quite well, most of the time anyway. Not much else to say about it, really. Just a fun vehicle. Honestly, I wish Rockstar did more with this thing. I made a custom game mode or something. Alright, and here we have it, the last vehicle in the entire list of cars that handle good off-road. Another go-kart. This is the classic version of the Vito Modern, the previous one. And again, everything I said applies. I feel like as far as I can tell, it's just a copy and paste vehicle. Both are pretty much exactly the same, although according to Bruffy1322, this one has a slightly higher top speed. And yeah, it's just a nice fun vehicle, mess around with friends. Exact same handling characteristics, an off-road traction loss of 0. Nothing bad to say about it really, other than it's obviously slow. And I still wish Rockstar would do more stuff with these go-karts. Well guys, that's it. I decided I would make a video on this because it's a topic that's always interested me for years and years now. I always found it fascinating the way Rockstar chose to code some of the vehicles in this game compared to other ones. I always loved the rally-esque cars in particular because ever since I heard Bruffy1322 mention it, it kinda made me realize that there are all sorts of weird handling flags, weird coding choices that Rockstar does. And speaking of Bruffy1322, if for some reason you haven't heard of that guy, right, he's the guy when it comes to GTA cars. Bruffy1322 and his site GTAcars.net was so helpful in making this video. Without that, this video wouldn't be possible at all. Go check him out. Go subscribe to him. Because he's done a video on not just rally cars, but every single car. This guy has made a video of some form or another on every single car in this entire game, which is nuts. So yeah, with that, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'm out. See you guys.